This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor John Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
I'm Heather Branch here with John to talk about ways to better prepare for your financial future. And you can start your own conversation with John and his team at J. Hagan Capital. Find us at retirementsolutionradio.com. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there or again visit us anytime, retirementsolutionradio.com. All right, so let's talk some financial retirement planning 101.
Okay.
The idea of an income plan. Because How many people will come to you, I would say, first of all, and you're sitting down having first conversations, and they've got all the savings, but you look at them and say, so how much do you get in your paycheck every 2 weeks? So what's your plan to replace that paycheck, essentially?
Sure.
After you retire, and they look at you with a blank stare and crickets chirping.
Well, their whole thing is like, whoa, that's why I'm here.
Right.
Because I have no idea.
How
what
you're
you're talking about.
Right.
It's like, I know about the 4% rule, I know about some of these other things, but like, dude, all I did was take money out every single paycheck and put it in this thing. Sometimes I got employer matches. Sometimes I didn't. Here's the money we saved in other places. Here's some money I got squirreled away when, something happened to one of our parents and we got a little bit of inheritance. How do I make this into something I can live off of and not run out of? Guys, that is, by the way, that is the retirement conundrum. That is the puzzle. That's the whole thing we got to put together. For some people, it's 6 pieces. It's like a preschooler puzzle that's kind of prearranged and ready to rock, right? But for a lot of us, especially if we've done a good job saving, if we have complex situations, we own properties in other states, we have a trust, we do. It's more like one of those 1,000-piece puzzles where it's not even color correspondent. And you're like, oh my gosh, how do I make this thing work? How do I know that my CPA is actually talking to my trust attorney? How do I know that my financial guy is actually paying attention to what either of those other bozos are doing? And how do I'm certain that I am not going to overspend? Because frankly, I got a lot of money. I've been used to spending a lot because I've been making a lot of money. But now that I'm selling my strip mall / business / blah, 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 or my condo that is now worth, $6 million in Florida, now that I'm selling that and I don't have that producing income, how do I do that?
Yeah. So if you are hearing John and realizing you don't have that income plan, you don't really understand how you're going to make this money work for you, you can go ahead and give us a call. 502-317-0840 is our number, and plan a time for that full review, that second opinion on your retirement savings and investments, and get to work creating these income streams, this income plan that you need for your retirement years. And you were talking about some of the things that we have to have built into that income plan and the understanding. Let's just pick one area that confuses so many of us. The question is, how much do we withdraw year in, year out from our savings in retirement? Apparently, you were making mention earlier about Morningstar and the business that it is every year. I didn't realize this. The folks at Morningstar financial website, they update this calculation, and their latest number is 4% monthly. So here is Amy Arnott on this idea.
I think it gives you a starting point for thinking about what might be reasonable for a withdrawal rate. And if you find that the amount that you want to spend translates into a much higher withdrawal rate, you might think about cutting back on spending a bit. Or conversely, a lot of people actually tend to underspend. So if you find that your planned spending is actually significantly lower than 4%, you might want to consider increasing it.
First of all, I like where she began with her statement. She said this gives you a starting point on what might be reasonable, John. So how do we work to do this on an individual basis then, figuring out individuals' starting points, doing the math on withdrawals?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I have studied over the years, because, when I went back to school at Cornell for the last time, I specifically went to study behavioral finance and distribution. So that is not nerd at all, right? My pocket protector, I had to check in on my way into the studio. But for real, when you think about it, what my biggest thought was, wow, all of these multimillionaires and billionaires on this planet, how on earth do they hold on to that? How do they know what they can actually spend? Because at one point in time, they may not own that business. They may not own that strip mall. They may not own those things. How do they keep living that lifestyle? How do you become a Rockefeller or a Vanderbilt? I was truly entertained with the concept of, okay, making money is one thing. How on earth do you hold on to it if you want to live a good lifestyle? So weirdly and oddly enough, one of the things that's disseminated to all of us peons is the 4% rule, where they say, hey, if you take your money and you pull out 4% a year from what you've saved, 4% a year, then you should be okay. And so, Heather, one of the very first things we studied in my course of distribution economics was there's still a 19% chance of failure, 19% chance of running out of money, even if you only pull 4% from what you save.
Really?
Now, let's put some numbers here. If you're a millionaire, you saved $1 million.
Right.
Hookah, hookah, hookah. Congratulations. You can pull out $40,000 a year using market-based mutual funds or whatever people own and pulling out 4% a year. There's still a 19% chance of running out. That is a horrible statistic
it's a
that
big
I
number.
do not know why on earth that we keep propagating the idea that a 4% rule with fully market-based investments is an appropriate way to spend money. Because the crazy thing is right now, when you look at money markets, heck, money markets, at least at this very moment, are paying more than 4%. Why can't we pull more than 4%? Well, because the markets, they've been going up for a while. Right. There's a good chance they could go down and stay down. It doesn't mean they have to go down. What if they just don't go up for a while? And then you can't necessarily spend as much money. So one of the things that I've been working on overall, like probably for the past 15 years, but really in the last 7, I feel like we've really gotten it down. Everyone, based on how much they've saved and what they want to spend, they probably need to have their own very tailored distribution plan. So, for instance, if someone says, John, I want to be 100% market-based, and I don't want a ton of risk, but I want to be market-based for the majority of the money, what can I pull? Well, as of right now, and we want to reevaluate this every year, but right now I'd say you can pull about 5.4% on your money as long as you are consistently paying attention to how much you're, moving up with your portfolio or moving down. Now, that's a fully market-based portfolio.
Okay.
Now, this is not based on just owning the mutual funds you currently own. My thought is I have no idea what those things are, who's in charge of them, what their fee expenses are, what their ratio for distribution is. Can you hedge them? Can you put stop losses in them? Can you put protections on those things?
Right.
So you cannot do that with mutual funds. You can do that with individual stocks or exchange-traded funds, which is why we like those. By companies like Vanguard or BlackRock or Fidelity or Schwab or take your pick, the big guys that are super inexpensive where I can put protections on things. So if the market kicks us in the teeth, we know that we get some form of protection, and everyone's different on what they want.
Right.
But if we do that, Heather, we can add, for example, a minute ago, I said $1 million, you could pull 40 grand.
Okay.
You could pull more like 52,000 a year.
Okay.
Doing it correctly like that.
Okay.
Now that's just if you wanted to keep it apples to apples off what you're currently doing. Now, if you go a couple steps further, there are other asset classes we can consider. Like one of the things that everyone seems to be talking about these days, whether they're Ken Fisher and they hate them, or whether they're whoever it is hawking annuities, is say, hey, annuities you should consider. Why? Because interest rates are really high.
Right.
And based on demographics and based on ages, you might be able to get a higher payment than you've ever been able to get before.
Right.
No, those statements are accurate. That doesn't mean that an annuity is right for anyone, but those statements are pretty accurate. And when you look at those, if you, let's say you're 65 or 66, you could potentially have an annuity that might pay you more like 5.8%, all the way up to 6.5% a year, guaranteed to never run out of money. So that's okay, right? So if you're saying, okay, I see what you're saying, John. If I want to stay market-based and we use a strategy like you believe in, I might be able to pull 5.2% instead of 4%. Yeah, that's $12,000 more dollars a year on the same $1 million. Well, what if we want to consider an annuity? It's like, well, I don't think anyone should put all their eggs in one basket, but if you did that, maybe you could get up to $62,000 a year. Okay.
Yeah.
So, there are other strategies we can use, Heather, that right now I'm very comfortable mathematically saying that we could pull as much as 7.25% to as much as 8% a year, understanding that money will probably last your lifetime, but it may not have a tremendous amount left over for the next generation, right? Okay. So we have to be very cognizant. So the question is, do we want to make certain that we're going to have a lot of money left over? Do we want to have multi-millions to go to the kids and grandkids? Or do we want to live off of our money the best that we can? And the kids can have the houses and the cars and the other things and whatever else is left over. But we want to have the most income we have. Why? Because we're the ones that save for it.
That's right.
So why wouldn't we have an $80,000 potential annual income, $80,000 a year off the same $1 million? And it's a good mix of a lot of different asset classes, but a lot of them have safety nets, they have hedges, they have stop losses, they have all kinds of factors in there. And that is a true, in my opinion, strategic income design. Now, if we do that, you could get twice as much as Ann was just saying that we could get on our money. What would you rather have, $40,000 a year on $1 million or 80? Well, it just depends on if you want to have a big old pile of money left over for the next generation, or if you just want to be certain that you can do your giving while you're living. If you don't need that difference of that 40,000, guys, think about it. You could be giving your kids and grandkids 40 grand a year, still living off that other 40 grand. That is my opinion of a much better way to leave the money to the next generation. You're getting the joy of their faces as you give those gifts.
Yeah.
Whether it's to spend time with them and taking them all down to Disney, the grandkids, or renting out that awesome lake house for an entire summer. And we know that no one can get together all at the same time, but over the course of the whole summer, you're there enjoying your time. They can come down and visit as they have time to do it. Guys, that is really what I feel is a fulfilling style of retirement. That's what we want to plan at J. Hagan Capital. So whether you're looking at, hey, do I have enough money to make it? My guess is it just depends on the strategy that you're wanting to employ. Us, we just use everything based on mathematics. If mathematically I can make it work, where I am very confident that it can sustain for the long run, we'll consider it. And it doesn't matter what the product is. Remember, in my office, it's about process, not product.
If you are ready to get to work on your plan, then visit us at retirementsolutionradio.com and start your own conversation with John and his team at J. Hagan Capital. We also have links posted in the show notes, so click there, or again, visit us anytime at retirementsolutionradio.com.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with John Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with John and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to John's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Inc. is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. It does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Jonathan Hicks, insurance license number 548962.